This is the response to 2bsirius. Hi there, Karen. It's a second response of the day to you, and this is to your video called Our Insane Ride into the Future. Yeah, from your comments, you seem to think I'm offended by it. I'm not offended by anything you say. It's always very helpful. But I just want to add a couple of things, because either I'm not coming off properly or something, I don't know. Maybe this... Yeah, I just think it would be nice to share some apprehensions and misapprehensions. I've made some notes here, what you said. You say that I'm pointing to the futility of the human condition. I'm not sure I go along with the word futility. Futile is a word that I don't use very often. Futile to me always sounds like half-hearted failed attempts to do something, an attempt to succeed at a task knowing that it's going to fail. It has all those kinds of impressions to it, really. And that's not my... I don't have any of the sentiments associated with that kind of an experience. I think there are some specific philosophical and social problems that we face, existential problems actually, but I'm not sure futility is something that I would respond with. You go on to say that many of my videos are about the futility of life and of existence. I don't think that's true really, Karen, to be honest. I mean, I've made 1,200 odd videos over the last couple of years. I've made 2 or 3 a day, as you know. And of those, probably 20, 25 are addressed with this particular problem. It is a problem that fascinates me and that intrigues me, and I do find myself coming back to. It's like the tongue returning to a broken tooth thing. It's that, that's something that I do find myself wondering about. But it's not the only problem. A lot of my videos are about perception, or about consciousness, or about knowledge, or about metaphor and language. 1 or 2 about politics and economics. So I don't think I'm obsessed with the futility of the human condition. I think I do have quite specific worries, and by worries I don't mean anxieties. I mean worry in the sense that in the way that a dog worries a bone. There's a bone there that I keep coming back to and worrying. That's for sure. But I don't think I'm a one-trick pony in that regard. Okay, it's a little on. You say that we're all playing a no-win game. A no-win game. I'm not sure about that. That's Gary's language, the no-sum game thing. And I'm not quite sure how I'd talk about this particular issue in relation to games. And you say there's no way out of the economic equation of suffering. No, I don't say there's no way out. I say I don't know a way out. And nor do I know a way. I wouldn't be talking about it if I knew a way out. Nor do I necessarily say that the economic equation of suffering is the best one, which is one of the reasons why I'm kicking around other metaphors and inviting people to participate in that creative enterprise, because that's kind of how I regard it. I think there is a way of looking at suffering and as economics, and that's what I've entertained over the last couple of videos. Balancing the pleasure and pain in the world, to oversimplify, because there might be something there for me. There might be an interesting solution, if that's not the right word, or an interesting enhancement of the difficulty for me. But if that one doesn't work, then I'll spin another metaphor out. In fact, the one that you originally referred to, which is the arse backwards into the unknown video. I mean, it's pretty lightweight. I know it's science fiction. But I'm playing around with other metaphors in that, and in other videos which have also played around with time and the shape of experience over time as ways to rethink that particular difficulty. So yeah, the no-win game thing, economics thing, yeah. I don't know. Well, something about Darwinian thing. Yeah, you locate this in a place which I kind of locate it, but I'm not sure if I do entirely. And again, this goes back to the futility thing. Because you're locating it as I guess I do to a certain extent, but Gary certainly does more, with the logic of Darwinian evolution. The struggle for existence, which of course is a big stumbling block if you're looking for the happy land story of the human race. Or of life itself. If you're looking for a Pollyanna story about how life came out of non-life, then Darwin doesn't give you that story. You have to do something else with it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I suppose the distinction I have with you there's two distinctions. One is to do with futility, which I've already mentioned. In the face of that problem, do you either give up, I would say no, and press the button, no, and clearly the fact that most of us aren't doing that suggests that we're all kind of hanging on somehow. Do you engage in kind of futile acts of pleasure, or futile acts of reinforcing of your position, something like that? Again, I would say no, because by definition a futile act is bound to fail. So what are the other options are there? And there are, I don't know what those are, but it is about being creative with that. And I certainly do try to remain creative in the face of the difficulties. But just to return to Planet Darwin for a minute, one of the things that you say there is about the universality of Darwinism. And I think you may well be right. That's certainly what Dawkins and other evolutionary biologists have said, that this is such a successful creative mechanism, this Darwinian evolution, is that it's in all likelihood the one that's happened in all of the planets, if there are other planets with life on them, and there may be. And I'd happily go along with that. But for me, that doesn't necessarily mean the pleasure-pain thing, does it? Or the suffering thing. I mean, I can certainly imagine ways in which life could have evolved that doesn't involve pleasure and pain. Or doesn't involve pleasure. Pain just involves pleasure. And I don't, as I said in previous videos, I don't think pleasure is just the absence of pain. And I don't think you need to experience pain to understand what pleasure is. In fact, there's good evidence for that. But if I was creating a life way, if I was God steering evolution, I would probably not have gone with the pain thing. There's other ways to get a job done other than hurting people to get them to do what's good for them. And that applies to the natural world as much as it applies to the social world. A bit more carrot and a bit less stick would have been a really good idea for evolution, and that may be the case. If evolution exists on the planets, that may well be the case. I can certainly imagine a situation where, rather than feeling pain when I put my hand on something hot, I just get a feeling of, like gravity, something like that. As I approach something hot, rather than feeling an increased sense of discomfort turning into pain, I just feel a sense of repulsion. Can you imagine that? That would be really easy to build in. You just feel repelled by that thing. That easy. I can imagine non-painful ways of getting organisms to do what's good for them. And I would be surprised if evolution didn't occur millions of times in millions of different planets, if at least on some of those planets it managed to avoid the pain trap. So I don't think it's an inevitability. You also say that I say suffering is pointless. No, I think suffering isn't pointless because of the way that the organisms on this planet have been designed. We suffer because there's a point to it. It's a shame. I would much rather be repelled because there was a point to it, or get a slight feeling of I don't know, a slight feeling of loneliness, whatever. Some tiny moment that told me not to do certain things that were bad for me. So yeah, suffering isn't pointless. I don't know. That's pretty much all I've got really here, Karen. Not a great video, I know. I suppose all I'm trying to get to is I know I come off like a miserable fucker. I know that. I realise that. And I know there's people compared to some people here on YouTube, let's face it, compared to Gary, really, I'm like, I don't know, some comedian. But, but I think there is a genuine problem there. And I don't think it's a problem you face with futility. Nor do I think it's a problem you face with a kind of Pollyanna-ish rejection of the facts, and I do see that. I think some of the pantheism I hear about on YouTube is awful, quite honestly. It's awful. I think you have to face the difficult questions and ask the difficult questions and operate in the presence of the difficult questions. Not run to the fields wringing your hands needlessly and impotently. Of course not. but ask lots and lots of questions and keep thinking of interesting things to do in the presence of those questions. And I hope that makes sense. Sorry about this noise in the background, by the way. That's a new washing machine. I've just been to Comet because my washing machine this morning, there was a hire, H-A-I-E-R. If you ever don't ever buy a hire washing machine car, because they're crap. It's been trouble from the day I bought it. It finally gave up the ghost this morning. I kept having to put the same pair of jeans through it 6 or 7 times, and it kept showing an error 7 message, which means the motor was fucked. So in the end, I've thrown it out, and I've just spent 300 odd quid on a new Hoover. And by the sounds of it, it's okay. Anyhow, yeah. So I didn't approach the washing machine problem with futility, Karen. I didn't do that. I went out and spent money on it instead. Anyway, thanks very much for this interaction.